Read. This video is for you, but only if you're an empath like me. If you're not an empath, then get yourself to fuck. So, if you're an empath, sadly, you're in the minority, and sociopaths are drawn to you. I wouldn't say like flies to shite, I'd say moths to a flame, yeah? Now, this video isn't about the imbeciles who used to target me, who used to visit me. It's a big clue that, if these people always visit you and you never visit them. Now, if this video was about sociopaths from my past, I'd have recorded it, a dozen years ago when I first started recording these videos. Did you get a read of this? Hold on. I repeat, so this has got nothing to do with people from my past. This is just to help you rid yourself of sociopaths whom you're not already aware are sociopaths. And to save you from the kind of crap I had to witness when I was ridding myself of sociopaths and trying to end things in their favour, right? And to take on board this important point, sociopaths will always try to end things with empaths in their own favour. And it's a long, drawn-out process. It could even be painful to you. It wasn't painful to me because I wanted rid of them, yeah? But because of sentimentality and empathy and conscience and so on, I couldn't bring myself to get rid of them like that. And this video is about teaching you, encouraging you to end things with sociopaths like that. Just fucking launch them at the first red flag. Don't wait bloody years like I did, unwittingly, across the board. However, I'll simplify. Basically, when the sociopaths tried to be friends with me from a very early age, I had a gut instinct, a gut feeling that they weren't good enough for me, and I felt really bad as an empath saying that person's not good enough for me. It kind of makes me seem like a bad person historically when I thought that way. I don't think that way now, yeah? I'm 100% certain that sociopaths should never be allowed anywhere near empaths for any reason ever at all. And there's easy ways we could actually save ourselves from them. Yeah, easy ways. We could give everybody an fMRI brain scan, right? Say from the age of about, 16, let's just say, or 17, right? Because that's the age that most of them flocked towards me, although there was ones that targeted me from childhood, actually, sadistic ones. And the point being, I repeat, when your gut instinct tells you that person's not good enough, don't feel bad because you fundamentally lack arrogance. I fundamentally lack arrogance. Pleased to meet you. The thing is, if your gut tells you that, fucking launch the cunt, launch the fucking bastard, right? Launch them and don't feel bad about it. And the key to this is, when a sociopath's in your life, even for a very short period of time, if you pull them up about something that's disrespectful towards you, if you pull them up, they prey on your empathy, they prey on your fear of being thought of as being a bad person, right? If you pull a sociopath up about anything, the response is, that makes you a bad person. You're a bad person. You are what I am. Sociopaths are fucking obsessed with saying, you are what I am. No matter what words they use to disguise that formula. It took me years to get to that formula, to actually, all right, that's exactly what they're saying all the fucking time. You are what I am. You are what I am. Ad infinitum, ad nauseum. They're obsessed with disguising that formula. No matter what words they're using to disguise that, realise they're saying you are what I am. Get on board. What that means is they're not good enough for you, right? They're a bad person trying to drag you down and say that you are what they are. They're a piece of shit, right? It's really difficult. It takes a long time for an empath to be able to say, do you know what? In all conscience, that person is a fucking piece of shit and doesn't deserve to be in my fucking life. They're a scumbag. And if you give a scumbag any opportunity to be in your life for any length of time, they will invariably drag you down to their level, because all sociopaths don't develop beyond infancy. Right? So you're essentially befriending children. Are you aware of that? You're letting children visit you, or toddlers. Yeah, there's narcissists who don't develop beyond 5 usually. Then there's megalomaniacs who don't develop beyond 3. So are you aware you're actually hanging out with 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds? Are you aware of that? Yeah? An empath has to realise this, and then, by crikey, you have to rid yourself of these bloody enfants terribles. Another mistake empaths make is we tend to polish a shite. When no matter how much you polish a shite, there's no clean side to a shite. Yeah? It's a complete fucking waste of time. It's also like stretching an elastic band. Right? After you put in all this effort to try and stretch this elastic band, what happens when you let go? Yeah? Could have been more impressive, that there. Yeah, it's more impressive, isn't it? And so it just goes back to the exact same dimensions it had before you wasted all your precious time on that fucking waste of time. Yeah? It's also very important to understand 2 things. One, when a sociopath speaks, the vast majority of the time, they don't actually believe what they're saying. It took me decades to realise that. Yeah? A sociopath doesn't believe what it's saying, especially when it's trying to bring you down. Yeah? And that will be usually for egocentric reasons on their part. They envy empaths, so they believe that you must be arrogant because you're up there by their own estimations. So you must be arrogant, and so you must be brought down to their level where they can beat you with experience at being a stupid fuck their entire life, They were born an arsehole, they are an arsehole, and they'll die an arsehole. Do you really want arseholes in your life more than the one you've got between your legs? Point. Guilt. They don't do guilt. So, they don't believe what they're saying, and the other thing is, they don't do guilt. The front of their brain doesn't work. It's not functional, right? And without it, because I'll come back to it, but basically they don't fucking do guilt, right? So, if they've ever wronged you, the piece of shit doesn't feel bad about that, ever. And if you pull them up about it, what do? They say, you should feel how I should feel. You should feel guilty about making me feel bad about the fact I never improve. Which is a deliberate choice. Their entire fucking life, they chose not to develop. They chose not to blame themselves. The point I'm going back to is, there's a moral law. I call it the moral law of divinity. Asians tend to call it karma. Yeah? And it can be best seen in sociopaths who choose to arrest their development from infancy by failing to blame themselves. They would rather project their blame at innocent people they're attracted to. Yeah? And the people they're most attracted to are empaths, because they know themselves that they don't want to be with shite like themselves. So, basically, you need to take on board this simple solution. When your gut tells you to get them to fuck, say to them, get yourself to fuck. Okay? And afford them no second chances. I'll give you an example of me giving a sociopath a second chance, right? Basically, all the other sociopaths who were slightly higher functioning, or much more higher functioning than the sociopath I'm about to give you an example of to help you, if you recognise similarities between the sociopaths I'll give you examples of, just to help you, then get rid of these fucker. Get rid of them, right? So, basically, I was about 17, and this piece of shit came into my life, you know. I gave him his first chance at his first rock band, you know, took him out for his first drink of alcohol. You know, he used me. He wanted to use me in every way you could use somebody. But essentially, all along, he wanted to use me to go down the pub with him and to help him pull a girlfriend. And then as soon as he got the girlfriend, bye-bye, Errol, ta-ta, thanks for all the fish. Yeah? Yeah? And so, at 17, I'd known him I'm guessing about maybe 9 months, something like that. And he'd got on my tits since I befriended him and helped him and was starting to take him places and encourage him to channel, which I've done with loads of musicians, try to help them achieve a fucking standard, yeah, where we can perform live and do brilliantly and entertain people, you know, blah, 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 helping them to help others through their talent or their skill or their technique, what they've practiced. So, all I'm saying is, let's say, it might have been longer than 9 months, my chronology is not perfect, yeah? So, eventually, he went on like an asshole towards me. I'm not going to specifics because I don't want to single out anyone so they can tell from this I'm talking about them. So I don't give a fuck about them. You know, if I gave a fuck about the people I'm using examples of to help you, I'd have done this video again 12 years ago when I first started uploading these stand-up videos to help fellow empaths. You're welcome. So, all I'm saying is, the point you'll be glad I've arrived at is he went on like an absolute fucking cunt, right? And so he went home after behaving dreadfully, right? And so he phoned me, I think, to try and see if he had something to make up for. And I just simply said to him, look, we can't be friends anymore. And it took a lot for an empath to actually say that. And so I said, basically, that's it, you know, you can't visit me anymore. We'll leave it at that. And without hesitation, he said, if you dump me, I'll commit suicide, Errol. So what was this empath's instant reaction to that? Oh, listen, no, forget what I just said. No, listen, forget all about it. We can still be friends, you can still visit me. Right? And their response was quite telling, because I actually said, just come over. And they said, I'll maybe come over tomorrow. See any depth or honesty in that response, you know? What I'm telling you, it's so important. During or after this video, go and get the number, the telephone number of the Samaritans, right? And get it fucking typed across your forehead, right? Get it in, right? Remember it. And so when one of these pieces of shit that I'm teaching you, I'm advising you, I'm, you know, helping you to launch, get them out of your life, all you have to do is remember the number for the Samaritans. So when you launch the cunt, when then they say to you, don't dump me, I still want to be your friend. If you dump me, I'll commit sideways. Simply give them the number for the Samaritans and wish them well. Right? Don't let them back into your life. Your gut told you something for a fucking reason. Their behaviour made you realise you need to get them to fuck. They're not good enough for you. There's no clean side to a shite, no matter how much you polish it. Stop trying to help them, teach them, fix them, encourage them. Everything they fucking say or do is a deliberate choice, right? So give them the number for the Samaritans and say bye-bye. Otherwise, they will remember this. And they will worm their way back into your life with the sole intention of turning the tables on you. They want to drag things out for as long as it takes for them to finally say to you, get yourself to fuck. The problem with me was, since I knew from the start I shouldn't have let them into my life, to a certain extent, I knew this from the very, very start. And because they wanted to use me to go down the pub with them to get girlfriends, I wasn't working around that time. I was putting a lot of my effort into music. And so to cut a long story short, they said they would, buy me beer if I helped them to go down the pub and pull a chick. Because they were ugly bastards, to be quite frank with you. And I'm not an ugly bastard. And the thing is, at that time, looking back on it, although I didn't see myself as being great looking at the time, in my mid-teens, to early 20s, I was not bad looking and chicks were attracted to me. But to cut a long story short, they wanted to use me to go in the pub so they would buy me beer to encourage me. And I knew that was wrong of me to accept them into my life in the first place, despite my gut instinct telling me to get them to fuck. And I should not have taken beer off them. So I told them all, right, all these bloody sociopaths who visited me, I told them all that I would only do this with them if they would tot it up. And at some juncture, I would repay them for all the beer, right? And they said yes. So on those grounds, I went to the pub with them. But it didn't dawn on me, I didn't realise that once these pieces of shit pulled a girlfriend, and they would actually say, "Ta-ta, Errol, and thanks for all the fish." Right? So, basically the problem is, they went on like a cunt towards me, or an arsehole. They went on like a bampot towards me loads and loads of times. And in my innocence, right, as an empath, all I said to them was, that doesn't work on me. It didn't really totally dawn on me. They were doing their level best to try and hurt my feelings, right? They didn't believe what they were saying, which I didn't realise. However, I also didn't realise they were trying to drag me down because they saw me as being up there and therefore arrogant, because if they were up there, they would be arrogant, blah, blah, blah. The point is, I actually heard myself one day say the phrase, that doesn't work on me. And it finally dawned on me, fuck me. All these years I've been saying to sociopaths, your shit is garbage, it doesn't work on me. But what I should have been saying was, get yourself to fuck. Right? I should have been launching the fucking bastards, right? Because, at least 1,000 times, each one of these sociopaths had tried to hurt my feelings, drag me down, not believing what they were saying, just trying to hurt or drag on me, yeah? So, basically in my innocence, I didn't launch the bastards. So does that ring any bells with you, Are you as good as forgiving these assholes when they try their shit out on you? The reason their shit didn't really work though is because sociopaths have a very, very shallow amygdaloid cortex, right? They don't develop beyond infancy that capacity. So there's no depth there. They will never care deeply about you. It's impossible for them. So you have to get them to fuck. I repeat, they're so superficial that when they try and bring you down, very often it won't work on an empath because we have capacity and it just seems so bloody infantile to us. But just because it's infantile and doesn't work, you must recognise they're a bastard trying to bring you fucking down. They're trying to hurt your feelings. And you're letting them continue to do this. You're letting them continue to visit you to do this shit until they've completely turned the tables on you and can walk away from you. Because all sociopaths want to end things in their favour, right? And they want, the closest they'll ever get to empathy is hoping and trying to engineer you, manipulate you, so that eventually when they do walk away from you, and they will, that you feel how it felt for them when you've correctly told them to get to fuck, yeah? So, but The crux of this is, save yourself fucking years, man. Years and years and years I put up with these bloody sociopaths, right? And because of what I knew from the start, that I shouldn't have allowed them into my life, I made this deal with them that I would have to repay them for the beer and the cigarettes they sometimes bought me. It took fucking years of their abuse before they finally thought to themselves, right, okay, right, that's me now, I'm away, yeah? And they hoped that they turned the tables on me and that I would feel how it felt for them on the occasions when I told them to get to fuck. But then let them back in because I'm an empath, I've got compassion, I've also got sentimentality, you know. And to cut long story short, all that combined meant these pieces of crap, right, were allowed to back into my life to visit me again and again and again. You can never and should never end things in a sociopath's favour. Yeah? Don't try and end things in another person's favour. Just get the fucking number for the Samaritans and just tell them it. Yeah? Even if they say they're going to top themselves, right? Just give them the fucking number and wish them well. Ta-ta now, bye-bye now, and thanks for all the fish, right? In the end, otherwise, they will do their best to try and hurt you, right? You don't want to know, right, what I have witnessed, because I tried to end things in their favour. I've done it with absolutely everybody who's ever triggered my gut instinct, right? I've tried to end things in their favour because at the core, I should not have let them into my life. But I did. Because I remember, very, very young, thinking to myself, do you know what? If I was a fucking high-functioning idiot, you know, and an ugly-looking bastard, which most of them were, yeah, I would want someone like myself to let me into their life and not be superficial, not care about what I look like, not care about the person being an idiot, yeah, or an idiot savant, right? And so I let them into my life because of my empathy, my compassion, when essentially, I repeat, if they're a sociopath, they shouldn't be allowed within 1,000 fucking mile radius of empaths who have got prefrontal brain function and a depth of amygdaloid capacity, right? You have morality, you have empathy, you also have the ability to accurately precognise the future consequence of your actions, which they don't. So, basically, I repeat, I tried to end things in their favour, which took a fucking long time, right? And it was really hard to witness, you know, basically. And one of the crux of this is that when you see them, say it's been years since they waddled off being the winner, right? Because you tried to end things in their favour and until they felt like they were the winner. As void of compassion, their brain's just very kind of like a humanimal, right? It's all about winning. Imaginary competitions, only they're in against imaginary opposition, you know. Basically, so when you meet them years and years later, they still haven't moved on. Right? Whenever I pass one of these pieces of shit, usually they'll try and ghost me. I call it that. Yeah. Basically, they'll try and walk past me as though I'm not there, as though they don't see me. However, the aforementioned one who said he would commit suicide, there were others who also told me they would commit suicide if I ended things with them. However, that's the first one I mentioned. Basically, we hadn't seen each other for donkey's years since I tried to end things in his favour. And basically, the last time we ever spoke was on the telephone, and he said something which stayed with me for fucking years until I started studying neuroanatomy, sociopathy, so on, and narcissism. Basically, I phoned him, still trying to end things in his favour by saying, you know, let's go out, I'll basically, take you for dinner, I'll whatever, And he said to me, aye, just go down the pub, basically. Or words to that effect. Essentially, if you recall, he was the one who used me to go down the pub to try and pull a girlfriend to then say bye-bye, Errol, right? For years, I tried to help him become a member of a rock band, right? But he foiled that at every hurdle, and it didn't dawn on me that it was a deliberate choice for him. I still continued to try to help him, encourage him, teach him, train him, fix him, a complete fucking waste of time on that elastic band, So, basically, what stayed with me at the end of that last call was, he was saying, you are what I am. Basically, yeah? All he was good for was not being in a up-and-coming rock band, not being a good friend. All he was good for, right, contradiction in terms, was going down the fucking pub to use me to pull a chick and say bye-bye now, right? So picture that arsehole. I'm trying to end things in his favour, take him for dinner, repay him any way that I could for the beer he'd spent on me whilst using me, right? And he ends that relationship by saying that I am what he is, that all I'm good for is going down the fucking pub. So the reason that stayed with me for years and years was because it was so fucking wrong, and to end things in their favour, I didn't let them have it. So that's my advice to you is, when a sociopath says something as shitty as that to you, invariably you are what I am, let them fucking have it, right? I don't mean physically punch them or whatever, just whatever's on your mind, let them fucking have it. Very often, something said in anger can be a very, very accurate psychological profiling of a sociopath. And that brings me back to when that particular arsehole was at school. He was psychologically, verbally abusive towards lots of people. And there was one particular girl who did what I just said. She got so angry with him, she fucking let him have it, right? And she was so accurate in defining what he truly is. Everybody who laughed then called him what she'd just called him as his nickname until he met me. And it was such a disrespectful nickname that I literally christened him a new name, a name that he probably uses to this very day, but he won't ascribe that to me, along with all the other things that I'm sure the sociopath does not thank me for. And to cut long story short, if you don't speak your mind at the fucking time, it can stay with you for fucking years until you study psychology, neuroanatomy, as I've said, and so on. And then you realise, fuck me, they were either a narcissist or a full-blown sociopath. Yeah? All sociopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are sociopaths. Yeah? Sociopaths can't change what they've become. That moral law arrests them at the age they choose not to develop beyond, because they refuse to blame themselves ever. They just project their own bullshit like an incontinent arsehole at anybody who'll put up with that fucking garbage. So, I went to a supermarket with a girlfriend, right? So sue me. And basically, there was a guy on a kind of like a buggy cleaning up the supermarket, and his hat fell off. So I ran and got his hat, and then had to run after this buggy to try and catch him up and give him his hat back. And then I saw the asshole I've just mentioned, and he saw me. But basically, I wasn't interested in him. I don't give a fuck about him, right? But he hasn't moved on, right? Because he hasn't moved on since bloody infancy, right? But you might think he's not moved on since you last met. No, they've not moved on since infancy. So to cut long story short, when I saw the arsehole peripherally, All I was interested in was giving this guy's hat back, and I could not have given a fuck about that piece of shit. I did my level best to end things in their favour, right? But they were still back in Nam, right? Because this was their reaction when they saw me. Right? Right? So they were still stuck in the past. And when they saw me, it was a kind of shock to their system, right? But it didn't end there, right? So I go back to the girlfriend, right? And then this particular arsehole walks past, right? And when he looks at my girlfriend of the time, who was wearing a really long, thick jacket, he did this. Right? You couldn't make that up, right? What he was trying to do was undress her with his eyes. What a fucking insult to his partner, right? What an insult to her, you know? But what an absolute fucking imbecile. And what a fundamental lack of self-awareness. And cheek. Basically asking for a good punch in the bloody mouth. Which I don't condone, right? Words. Just use words, right? To accurately profile shite like that. Use your anger. Let them have it at the fucking time. So then when the piece of shit finished trying to undress my then girlfriend, this was how he then looked at me. You ready? He wanted me to believe that I wasn't good enough for him and that, you know, he didn't care about me. If he didn't care about me, why those three reactions? When I couldn't have given a fuck about him, you know, and I tried to end things in his favour all those years earlier because I shouldn't have let him into my life in the fucking first place. I was just doing my best to try and help people, basically, for as long as it took until I could fucking get away, you know? Because when you're an empath, it's a solitary existence because we are so few and far between. Whereas sociopaths, if you throw a fucking stone in any direction, you'll fucking hit one. Right? So when you're an empath, look upon yourself as being like a fucking superstar, right? What happens? What does a superstar, like a really famous actor, what do they choose to do the more famous they get? They choose to live further and further away from people, right? They then choose to live in more and more higher walled mansions surrounded by bodyguards, people with guns, right? And surround themselves with other superstars who understand the exact same experience and are equally armed to the fucking teeth, right? So empaths need to see themselves as being superstars, right? Essentially, sociopaths are attracted to you because they genuinely, it's a kind of compliment, they do see you as this great light to the moth to be attracted to. I repeat, they don't want to be with shite like themselves who are 10 a penny. But if you let them into your life as a fucking empath, you will off-end them, right? In numerous times, right? You're dealing with a fucking really, really arrogant child, basically, or a toddler, right? Right? And they will always try and drag you down because their minds are riddled with envy and jealousy. Envy being existential, jealousy being material. So it's insane envy of you simply being evolved, you're having prefrontal brain function and core capacity, the depth to feel love, right? Also the ability to appreciate having people in your life, you know, even if you don't think they should be in your life for very long, you will still do your best to try and appreciate them, yeah? Help them, encourage them, fix them, train them, encourage them, yeah? You can't, right, they're an elastic band. Just fucking let them go. And remember, if they visit you, right, and you're not visiting them, and they're trying to make out you're a bad person, why are they visiting you for fucking years if you're a bad person? Yeah? So, the aforementioned asshole, like I say, whenever I see the asshole when I'm walking about, they give the exact same act. Right? They act the exact same way because they haven't moved on since infancy. Right? Not just from when we parted company in their favour. Yeah? They haven't moved on since fucking infancy. Right? So when I have the misfortune of walking past some of that shit, usually they'll try and ghost me, as I've said. They'll try and just turn their back on me and try and act out, you know, that I'm not worthy of their company and all the rest of it. Yeah? But I couldn't give a lesser fuck, you know. I genuinely couldn't care less about them. I shouldn't have let them in my life in the first place. I did, so I got what I deserved. So I'm trying to save you from that. I repeat, Samaritans, get them to fuck no matter what they say, right? Now, another one of them, right? I was putting him up in my house, and again, unsurprisingly, trying to get him into a rock band, trying to get him to record music and be successful at that. You know, he had a lot of technique, but he had no talent and no taste. And so, nonetheless, I was trying to help him, right? But all he wanted to do was drink, right? And I didn't want to drink, I wanted to make fucking music. Then drink maybe, you know? First things first. And so, to cut a long story short, he got so pissed off at me saying to him that I wanted to do music first, then maybe get a drink and a pizza or whatever. That in my house, right, I was making him dinner, and because he was so upset at me putting first things first, he came down the stairs, went into the kitchen and said to me, "You're a twisted wee boy." Right? And then went back upstairs to my bedroom where he spent the rest of the day. And so I then, well, rather than chuck it in the bin, I put his dinner on the table in the living room and went and sat down and ate mine, and even called up the stairs to him to come and eat his meal. And so he did, in silence, went up the stairs and went to sleep in my bed. Right? Right? So instead of getting a baseball bat and telling him to get the fuck out, right, I just slept on the couch until he left. But it stayed with me, that phrase, "You're a twisted wee boy," right? You know, it's the fucking antithesis of who I actually am. So, a donkey's years later, as I've studied, yeah, and do it yourself, study fMRI brain scans of sociopaths. Some people call them psychopaths, but being a psychopath is a choice. Anybody can choose to be a psychopathic, yeah? And so, but if you do study sociopathy and narcissism, then you will start to see, oh, that motherfucker can't be allowed anywhere near me ever again, right? You will start to see it. You're welcome. So, years and years later, it dawned on me he was saying what? "You are what I am." Right? He was a twisted wee boy. Yeah. Now, maybe somebody has said that to him during the course of his life when it's hurt him. And so he's used just a random opportunity when he's not getting his way to then say, you know, "You are what I am." Then he'll feel like he's going up in the world and that he's dragged you down, that you're now what he was. You know, what? You know? So that was the end of that. You can easily study shite like that without actually having them in your life. All you have to do is find a troll on the internet, because they're all the fucking same. And even though these so-called friends with a silent R, right, they might look different facially, they might have different skills and all the rest of it, but at their core, they're exactly the same. And so when you're online, you might be targeted by this troll, then that troll, then this troll, but you can't tell the difference because they're all the fucking exact same. Remember that core formula they're obsessed with? You are what I am, right? That's essentially what all trolls type with their extra thumbs on each paw, yeah? On their suspiciously stained keyboards from their mother's bedroom, right? They're obsessed with typing you are what I am. So you can read that again and again and again. If you just go out of your way to try and find trolls and communicate with them and see what they say, especially if you stand for something online, yeah, they will flock to you like Mecca, right? Yeah, the moth to the flame in a sense. So use them, right, to study sociopathy at its rotten core, and you will start to see again and again and a bloody again, right, that all their typing is you or what I am, no matter what words they use to disguise that. And I repeat, even when in person their faces look different from each other, at their core they're still all the fucking exact same. And you mustn't have arrested shite like that in your life. It doesn't make you a bad person, which you'll understand eventually when you meet another empath, right? And love breaks out and you appreciate each other fully, equally, yeah? Yeah. There's a reciprocal love going on there. Otherwise, it's a complete and utter waste of fucking time, right? Complete and waste of time to have a relationship with a sociopath. I mean, a narcissist who's not a sociopath can develop really fucking hard for them. However, they can develop. A sociopath can't. Yeah, they're fucked. They're a stuck fuck. Neuroanatomically, psychologically. Yeah. And when shite like that go out into the world, they have egomania, right? Just like most toddlers are egomaniacs, bless them, right? Sociopaths go out into the world, and because of their egomania, they want to be crowned king or queen, right? And when they're not crowned king or queen, right, what happens is they feel like a stuck fuck, which they are mentally, and now they are professionally, right? They're a stuck fuck, right? They never develop. And in that job that they fucking hate because they haven't been crowned king or queen, that job's a shithole of a job compared to what they want, right? They're a stuck fuck. And I've met them again and again and again. And if I walk in and there's a sociopath there stuck in a dead-end job, right? In that dead-end job, if you walk in smiling, hi, right, you are free, right? They want to bring you down, right? And I get that a lot. You know, whenever I'm walking about, I repeat, I don't walk about thinking, look at me, I've gone special. You know, I just walk about smiling at people, you know, tipping people, trying to be nice, da-da-da-da-da. But that's red rag to their bull, right? And they want to drag you down because they're a stuck fuck who deserves to be mega famous and loved by everybody and wearing a crown. Yeah? So treat that like a backhanded compliment, which it is when you think it through. So, in a nutshell, everything everybody does is a deliberate choice. And without self-awareness, true self-awareness, these sociopaths choose to be an idiot, right? So they're not an idiot, they're idiotic, right? They're choosing to behave like an idiot, right? Because they fundamentally lack self-awareness. I actually coined the word unself-aware when I was 17. And all the other sociopaths said to me, don't let that one into your life, Errol. They didn't say because he's the same as them but worse. And he was listening to them, right? And just sitting there, kind of brinkmanship, waiting to see if I would say yes or no and what all the rest of it. And to cut long story short, they said he's cold, he's shallow, and they tried to get across to me what they couldn't admit to about themselves. But they did their best to try and say, look, get him to fuck, keep us, because we can learn a wee bit. We're a bit warmer than that ice cold fucker, so on and so forth. And all I could say about him, in conjunction with what they were saying, was, aye, he's unself-aware. Now, I coined that phrase a million years ago when I was 17, and to this day, it sums up sociopaths to a T. So trust your gut instinct, Don't feel bad about what I used to feel really bad about, when I was disgusted by them, right? My gut instinct was telling me, get them to fuck, they're fucking disgusting. They don't deserve to be in your life, right? That's not arrogance, that's just an acceptance of the facts, if you want to put it really simply, And you don't have to accept anything, just I agree with my gut when it tells me someone's fucking disgusting and not deserving of my precious time, right? Launch them at the first red flag, right? I let them off with thousands of red flags, and during it I said to them, look, if you go on like this with other people the way you're going on with me, you'll end up coming a cropper. Just went over their fucking heads, right? And so, in a nutshell, every single one of them, whom I'm not singling out, like I say, it's not about them, this video. I'm just using them to help you, right? Every single one of them got knocked unconscious in public for going on the way I told them to not go on to other people. That's how bad they are, yeah? Basically, they were going on so badly towards me, I should have knocked them out, right? But, however, I'm not condoning knocking them out. I repeat, just let them have it verbally and then give them the number for the Samaritans and wish them well, right? But in a nutshell, it's really remarkable, actually. After each one of them was knocked out, right, by someone who was appalled at their behaviour and basically just fucking let them have it, after that they got worse towards me, right? And I've studied that as well. All it takes is one blow to a head at the front, yeah, to stop brain function there, and you lose whatever you had there. But in their case, they had very little to start with, right? And so, after that, they became even worse pieces of shit towards me. And still, I tried to end things in their favour, right? Fuck me. If I knew then what I know now, I'd have just launched the fucking cunts, right? I just got them at my life. I repeat for the umpteenth time. There's the number for the fucking Samaritans. Ta-ta, but bye-bye. One of them bought me a keyboard. I'm trying to think if anybody else did. Somebody loaned me a keyboard, when I was not working. And to cut long story short, they said it's a gift, right? And so I thought to myself, that's fucking remarkably kind of you. Maybe you want to continue with me helping you waste my fucking time as you pretend to want to be in a band with me whilst using me to get drunk and try and pull a girlfriend to say goodbye to me. Right? If only I knew then. So, the thing is, I accepted the keyboard as a gift. But in the end, basically I had enough of him. And he said, essentially, that he'd been using me. And that, in a nutshell, and he didn't want to. All this time, he'd been pretending that he wanted to be in a band with me. Right? It still didn't completely fucking sink in, but I still said to him, well, in that case, for the umpteenth time, get yourself to funk, you know, or words to that effect. So he then said to me that he wanted the keyboard back, the gift, right? And so I said to him, okay, you can have it. But he said, no, I want it right now. And I said to him, well, listen, I need to download the kind of stuff I've been doing on it, so come back tomorrow and you can have it. And he said, no, I want it right now, right? And he went to go up my stairs like the other twisted little boy, and I just put my hand out and put it on his wrist, and he tried to go up the stairs, but he couldn't. I was using almost no force whatsoever at all, but he was that weak that he couldn't do it. So he then doubled back and said, I'll be back tomorrow, right? And so I said to him, well, I'll have it ready for you for tomorrow, your gift, right? And so he came back the next day and I gave him it, and off he went. But then the prick tried to worm his way back into my life again. For the love of God, if this is ringing bells with you, launch these fucking arseholes out your life at the first red flag, not the millionth, which I experienced due to empathy, sentimentality, compassion, all the rest of it. So when he wormed his way back into my life, he tried to ingratiate me by saying, here's that gift back. What the fuck? You know, and then basically, to cut a long story short, he wanted it back again. So in the end, he didn't get it back one way or the other. And so I just gave it to charity. And then, sold it and gave the money to charity. So it's an ill wind that blows no good. Obviously, the aforementioned twisted wee boy was proof that I didn't put drinking as paramount importance, you know, which I've said already. And it puts into perspective again the other twisted wee boy, you know, pretending that I'm the kind of person who only wants to go down the pub and drink, you know. These are contradictions of each other writ large. So I've had the misfortune of wasting my precious time trying to train musicians who have some technique but no taste or talent, right? So technique without any talent is technique without any taste. They're just a fucking twat, right? And, you know, you can train monkeys to drive a car round a circus ring, right? Yeah, you can teach a budgerigard to speak English. I repeat, it's just a fucking waste of your precious time, right? And so, unfortunately, it took me until I was 26, right? Almost a decade of trying to help these fucking idiots who I thought wanted to be in a rock band again and again and again, helping them. Because they seemed to give me the impression they wanted to be, but they were just fucking using me, right? And they didn't really have the ambition and the true self-belief probably as well. You know, the self-confidence and so on, and they lacked talent and taste. However, I did my best with them. It took me till I was 26, so almost a decade of working with these people with some technique who were essentially twats, right? However, I got there, right? When I reached 26, I'd got a drummer and trained him up to be as good a drummer as he could possibly be and could play my music to my standard, which took a lot of doing. I also got a bass player eventually, you know, to be able to play complex bass lines, and a rhythm guitarist to do his part as well. And we didn't do that many gigs. I repeat, 26, and we did a handful of gigs, and I'm not kidding you. They were the fucking best gigs I've ever done in my entire life, and I decided just to stop doing gigs after that, because basically I started properly learning I was wasting my precious time when I can just do it all by myself. Can just use a computer and so on to program in drums, program in a bass line, rock the guitar myself, you know, sing myself, record it all myself, and then put it out there for people, fellow empaths. I'm trying to help. All my work is to help fellow empaths, especially if they're having a dark time of it, you know, dark years, they might be called. Hopefully not that long. Yeah, and so I repeat all my work for decades, and this kind of stand-up work I've been doing for a dozen years. It's all just to help, all my work's just to help fellow empaths, and especially save them from the years I spent wasting my precious time polishing shite. Another obvious sign that a sociopath's trying to turn the tables on you to end things in their own favour, right, is the way they try and end things, right? So they'll try and make out that you're not that funny. When they've laughed at your humour 1,000 times, they'll try and make out you're not that good looking. When they used you to try and pull chicks, they'll try and make out your music isn't that fucking good. When they were attracted to being in a rock band with you and sometimes practiced many, many hours in order to be seen, you know, playing your music, you know, and so on and so on. And so when these sociopaths were finally thinking to themselves, right, that's me done enough to have magically traded places with him, their magical thinking, right? That I noticed that they started doing shite like that towards me, especially showing to me that they fundamentally lacked the ability to appreciate anything, right? Comorbid with their unwillingness and inability to ever experience guilt, yeah? And as an empath, guilt will never leave you, which is a bloody good thing, because you improve every time you experience guilt for anything you've done. You improve as a person. Shite like that stay exactly as they are from the time they started projecting their own blame, their own guilt, right? So there's no clearer evidence of karma, or as I call it, the moral law of divinity, than that. You can actually look at fMRI brain scans and they prove to you this person's brain doesn't function where they chose it not to function. They chose not to develop empathy, compassion, morality, conscience, right? And with it, the ability to ever fucking learn, right? So, you can't fix stupid. The worst of them I call energy vampires, right? It takes an empath a hell of a long time to realise they're dealing with a fucking vampire. Evil, hiding in plain view right in front of you, using you to try and cause your fight or flight mechanism to be triggered, right? They suck when this happens, right? If they can say something to hurt you, upset you, anger you, whatever, bring you down, right? They see if they've successfully done so, right? Pseudo-successfully, yeah? And when they see it, they get a reward. In lieu of grey matter, they've got white matter. These pathological lying arseholes. And it doubles as a dopamine provider. And they just go, they suck, and they get a kind of rush from doing that to you. And they stand right in front of you, right? Hiding in plain view, because as an empath, you genuinely can't bring yourself to fucking believe that an evil bastard would stand in front of you and be that low a form of life, not believing a word it's saying, and doing its best to try and fucking hurt you, because it enjoys it, right? So, I attracted shite like that too. Predictably, I put up with them and tried to end things in their favour. Don't. End things in your favour, right? Launch the cunts at the first red flag. When your gut tells you something, launch them. And tell yourself that you're fucking too good a person to have someone in your life whom you've got to fix, you've got to train, you've got to teach. You have to learn. They're a fucking waste of time. They're wasting your time. It's all a deliberate choice they're making, yeah? I confronted one of them in my, I was about maybe 24 probably, and said to them, see, you've said this to me fucking loads and loads and loads of times, and you never do it. And this was the reaction, you ready? I know. Right? Why wasn't that enough for me? I still went on with them. Right? Still went on with them until they took the petted lip at me having had enough of them again for the umpteenth fucking time, and they wanted to try and end things in their own favour, which I've been trying to fucking do for fucking ages, right? And finally, when things were over, although there were certain things that stayed with me, I was so fucking glad, so glad to have these energy vampires out of my fucking life, yeah? And so that's what this whole video's about, to help you get these people out of your life. And what you'll realise pretty damn soon, especially if you've ended it rather than them, you start to feel happier. You start to get more done, right? Stuff that's really, really good work, yeah? It might be literature, it might be, anything, art, comedy, music, whatever, building, right? Whatever it is, you can get more of it done when there's no energy vampires in your fucking life draining you in plain view and trying to end things in their favour, right? When they realise they've been rumbled. But when I rumbled these pieces of shit, I didn't fully appreciate until my 40s, really, that I was spot on and trusting my gut at times, but foolishly I would let them back into my life again and again and again. And that fucking garbage haven't moved on, right? Since those times, which is why whenever I walk past these idiots, they try and ghost me. I can't see you. I'm the winner. I'm the winner of the imaginary competition only I'm in. They're born losers, some of them. And the majority are self-made losers. In a nutshell, even if this means that you end up with no friends, right? That's no friends with a silent R, right? You will be so fucking happy in the long run, right? Get rid of these fucking fiends. If you recognise, oh fuck, what Erol's describing, how the fuck could he know the behaviour of these people in my life whom he's never met? So if it's ringing a bell, right, and triggering your gut into the bargain, right, launch these fucking arseholes at the first red flag, or however many red flags are now down the line, right? Yeah. Moreover, if there are echoes that stay with you from having had dealings with energy vampires, use mindfulness technique. You could count yourself fortunate, right? If you don't yet see the good fortune of ridding yourself of these pieces of shit, all right? Then use mindfulness technique. Yeah, it works wonders. Whenever one of these vampires comes back to your mind, use mindfulness technique to rid yourself of them, right? There's loads and loads of mindfulness technique videos online for free. Just close your eyes, well, put it on first, then close your eyes. And eventually, the more you do that, eventually these pieces of shit, their echoes, will just be a thing of the past. Which is only their loss. Because it's really important. You're a time capsule, right? You ever been called that before? You're a time capsule. And every single fucking person you've met goes into this time capsule, right? And you have depth, you have compassion, you have empathy, you have love, you have morality, great reason, talent, maybe even beauty, you know, and it's only their loss, you know, when they lose that capacity of fucking time capsule with all those wonderful feelings, all these bloody good things about them. It's only their loss. If they end things in their favour and waddle off thinking they've left you in the gutter as the loser, it's only their loss. It doesn't matter what they're thinking. The fact that whenever I walk by one of these pieces of shit of the past, they still act out, you know, trying to be the winner, is proof conclusive of them, at least subconsciously, knowing what they lost. But they'll never truly, fully know what they lost. Yeah? And again, all they are, in the end, is just something that eventually your mind will stop reminding you about. You will have mindfulness without any of these lodgers who don't pay any rent. I probably should point out that as well as giving all these assholes like their firsts, you know, first rock band, their first girlfriend, their first drink, their first christening them, whatever, you know, I should point out there was one guy, I'll not localise chronologically where he came in, quite a sadistic guy, and to cut long story short, he was at the age where I would still visit others. After him, I didn't visit MD ever again. And so, his mother said to me, Erol, you used to visit, and since you stopped visiting, he's knocked himself unconscious. So, he's knocked himself unconscious twice in the last fortnight, right? When she said that, it stayed with me, but I didn't fully understand what she meant. She believed in karma. I didn't know that, right? And think this through, right? So, she wanted me to visit him again so he would stop knocking himself out like the other assholes who'd all been knocked out in public. When I told them, don't go in like this with anybody else or you'll come a cropper. And they all did, you know. So anyway, the thing was, so I started visiting him again. And I repeat, well, what happened was I visited him and there was this big hairy guy was hammering the guy I was visiting's door. So I came round and he saw me and he fucked off. He walked right past me, round the corner and tried to get in the lift. And I went to the door and before I could even knock the door, this asshole opened the door who I was visiting and said, don't knock my door like that ever again. Right? I said, what the fuck? I was basically here on his mother's duty and I hadn't even touched his fucking door. I said, hang on. No, it was the guy. That guy that's just getting in the lift. Listen, he was the one that was hammering your door. I hadn't even fucking touched the knocker. Yeah? So, that was the last time I ever visited him. Here's karma writ large. You ready? A few days later, I get a free newspaper put through the door. I open the newspaper, right? And there's that motherfucker who had been hammering Dafty's door, right? And what happened was, on the same day, he'd got in the lift, gone down a few floors, went to a wee woman's door, hammered her door, she opened it, and he killed her. And to this day, that son of a bitch doesn't know that his mother and me saved his life. Talk about being a time capsule. There's a fucking gold crown on top of you, if you will. Yeah? So, think about that too. Karma will make their life, with you deducted from it, just their loss in countless fucking ways. If you believe in the moral law of divinity, eventually, although it's an invisible law, you start to believe in it the same way you believe in other invisible laws. Gravity. If you don't believe in that invisible law, you come a fucking cropper. Yeah? The thing is with karma, or as I call it, as I've said, the moral law of divinity, which I discovered myself long before And I've still never actually read up on karma. I just see it, take it as I find it, try and keep it all as honest as possible in my understanding of it. And the key is this: when you're a good motherfucker, right, karma rewards you like that. Whereas if you're a bad asshole, by choice, it's slow yet sure when it's returned, And they don't put the two things together, which they would if instantly they were punished. If you were punished instantly, you would then go, oh, fuck, there's an invisible law. But if you do something bad, it's instantly, you get a smack in the face for it, Whereas if you do something good, like for example, just go and stroke a cat. Yeah, stroke a cat. Instant karma. So the long and the short of it is, these assholes will never improve. They will go from lesson to lesson without having learned from any of them, right? And they will be punished again and again. And don't you hate them. Don't you waste any of your mindfulness on hatred. To use an old phrase, hatred, wanting revenge, is the equivalent of you drinking poison and hoping the target dies. Yeah? The target of your hatred. Hatred's a pastime for the stupid. Leave that to them, right? Don't drink any poison and hope they'll die from it, right? You're just hurting yourself, right? I repeat, just use mindfulness technique until all that, I repeat, is a thing of the past. You can't fix stupid. All I wanted to be as a musician was a D-list band, right? Just, for example, being on a tour bus, driving from gig to gig, with dusty windows overlooking cornfields with the sun setting, having a wee drink and a smoke, doing something to justify having a drink and a smoke, and like, as I've said, D-list, so like you get to the venue, you're on first, and it maybe be like a 20,000 seater, but when you get there, there's like 400 or 500 people, if that, yeah. However, you rock them, you help them, and they remember you, and they might come to the next gig for the A-listers and then go, oh, come in a bit earlier and see that band, they were quite good, that's it. That's all I wanted, and although it didn't get to those levels, I still managed to put a band together that ended when I was between 25 to 26, and did the best gigs of my life, and gigs that, alright, there's about like 50 or 60 people at them, if that, and however, we did it, I did it, they did it, we did it, and basically, you have to quit when you're ahead, when you've got people in your life who shouldn't be there, they shouldn't be in your life, yeah? You're too good for them. And that's something you have to, as an empath, learn to say, learn to carry out. It's not much of a riff, that, was it? So, just watch this video again and again until you learn.